Welcome to our Swift survey training. I'm Colm Vonig, one of the joint coordinators of the Oxford Swift City Group. If you have already volunteered for the survey, then thank you very much. If you are thinking of volunteering, then I hope that this video will encourage you to do so. First of all, why are we surveying Swifts? Well, we know that their numbers have fallen by over 50% in just 20 years. This means that they are now officially on the amber list as a species of concern. They spend just 3 summer months nesting in Britain and then migrate to Africa for the rest of the year, where they spend all their time up in the air and are impossible to distinguish from the local swifts. So our only chance to survey them is when they come here to nest. They are an important species for urban areas. We generally associate wildlife with the countryside, but because swifts like to nest in buildings, we see more of them in our cities and towns. Swifts have a particular connection to Oxford in that they have been studied continuously since the 1940s at the Tower of the Natural History Museum, where there are usually 30 or 40 nests each year. So why are their numbers falling? Loss of nest sites is one reason. People tend to maintain buildings better nowadays, leaving fewer gaps and holes for swifts to access nests. This is why we encourage people to provide nest boxes. It is well known that insect numbers have crashed in the last few decades, and swifts' diet is entirely made up of insects and spiders. It is not clear if climate change is having an effect, but an increase in the frequency and severity of storms is likely to be a problem for any migrating bird. Because swifts spend nearly all of their time in the air, they are challenging to monitor. They only come down to nest, so this is when we must take our chance to survey them. Satellite tracking has revealed the swift's route to and from Africa, as seen in this map. The first usually arrive in Britain in the second half of April, but spend a few weeks feeding up before they start looking for nest sites. They will usually leave in early August as soon as their chicks take flight. This is why our survey can be focused on just 3 months, May, June and July. Here we see some close-up photos of swifts. You can see that they are mostly dark with just a pale patch on the chin. The photo top right is probably the most typical view you will get. The swift's silhouette is curved like a scythe, and that is quite distinctive. Swifts are most easily confused with house martins and swallows. All three fly fast and acrobatically, plucking insects out of the air. But you can see that house martins and swallows are white underneath. The house martin also has a white rump. The swift, on the other hand, is mostly dark. If you see a bird perched somewhere, then it is not a swift. Swifts never perch, they spend all their time in the air and fly straight into their nest. Some people may find them easier to tell apart by their calls. First of all, here's a house martin. And this is a swallow. Whereas the swift sounds like this, generally referred to as a scream or a screech. Now we're going to look at some video clips of swifts in action. First, a group of swifts flying low over houses. They often scream while doing this, and this is then referred to as a screaming party. You'll see that they tend to fly low over the same house repeatedly. This is called arcing, and we would like you to note this when you see it. It's an indicator that they are actually nesting in this area, possibly in the very house that they fly over. You will see that it has nest boxes attached. In this video, you'll see a swift enter its nest through a gap in the slates. Here we will see swifts investigating nest boxes. They fly up and cling to the nest hole to see if it is already occupied. These are called bangers because they sometimes make a noise doing this. If the nest is occupied, the residents inside will scream back at them. If a swift was to fly into an occupied nest, there would be a terrible fight, so this is a safe way for them to check. For the purposes of our survey, we have divided the built-up areas of Oxford City into half-kilometre squares. Each volunteer is assigned a square. In this map you can see the kind of data we get on the numbers of nests identified in each square. Red indicates 8 nests in that square, orange is 6 nests, and so on. The blue squares were surveyed but no nests were found. I know you all hope to see nests in your square, but 0 records are just as important to us as positive records because we need to know where swifts are not nesting just as much as where they are. If you have already volunteered or asked for more information about surveying, you will have received a survey pack. If you haven't already received one and are interested in surveying, we can email it to you. It includes an introductory letter explaining the reasons for the survey and the importance of the data. Then there is an outline of the methodology that we use and the map of your survey square. We provide recording forms to help you make relevant notes as you are out surveying. You will also receive a list of sunset times in Oxford throughout May, June and July. We ask you to survey for about an hour around sunset if you can. This is the time when swifts tend to be most active around their nest, feeding up before they return to spend the night. If you cannot survey at this time, don't worry, any time will do. This is just recommended as the best. We also provide you with a letter confirming that you are participating in an official survey. You may be asked by curious passers-by or residents why you are loitering on their street, and this will help you to explain. It may also be an opportunity for you to get them interested in swifts. In summary, we ask you to survey twice a month in May, June and July. Try to do it in dry, calm weather conditions if you can. Swifts are far less active in wet or windy weather, and it's a lot less pleasant for you. Please record screaming parties, arcing, bangers, as well as nest sites. You've seen in the videos what these look like. Try to survey every street in your square. This should be possible in an hour or so. If you have the time to do a dry run and work out your most efficient route, this will allow you to focus your attention on the skies when doing the actual survey. Be friendly to anyone you meet, and if they seem interested, explain what you were doing and why. Many people would have no idea that swifts might be nesting on their street. Don't go onto private properties, certainly not without permission. Some of you will have large college grounds in your square. In that case, ask at the lodge for permission, explaining your purpose, and they will probably facilitate you. Do not use binoculars. They are of no help in spotting swifts as they move too fast. You can also imagine that residents may not appreciate somebody wandering around their streets at nightfall, looking up at their houses through binoculars. Do not record swifts flying above 50 meters. That's about twice the height of a typical two-story house. If they are that high, they are probably feeding, and we don't want to count feeding or foraging swifts. Do not survey undeveloped areas such as lakes, meadows, greens, and canals. Swifts may feed in such areas, but they won't be nesting there. This is an example of a survey square. This one is in Wolvercote. You can see that half of the square is made up of undeveloped area. In this square, you just need to survey the streets, Home Close, Meadow Prospect, and so on. If there are swifts flying low in the area, you may see them swoop down over the same street a number of times, with varying numbers in the group. Count and make a note of each group you see, but you only need to record the highest number that you see at any one location. It is very difficult to confirm a nest site. You really have to be looking at the precise time a swift enters the nest hole. So, if in your first couple of surveys you have seen low-flying swifts, but have not found their nest sites, then in later surveys, spend more time watching the places where they fly low, especially around any houses that they repeatedly fly low over, and you will increase your chances of seeing them fly into their nest. The website that the RSPB are providing for recording your sightings is changing since last year. The new website's not quite ready yet, but they will supply a video to show how to use it when it is ready. So that's it. If you have any questions or comments following this presentation, feel free to email us. I hope that you can see that the survey will be fairly easy to conduct and fun to do. If you are not fortunate enough to see swifts in your square, do not think that this is a waste of time. Far from it. We need to know where swifts are and where they aren't. So good luck out there and enjoy yourself.